Hey everybody, Candy here. Hey everybody, Candy here. Hey y'all. Hey. Can y'all hear me? Hello everyone, good evening. I hope the audio is okay. Good evening, everyone. Pandy here of Pandy's Hair Candy and More. I hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. I am coming through to give my Queen Sugar update and review slash recap for tonight's episode. So, if this is your first time joining my channel, welcome. If you are already chat family with me, welcome back. Again, we are going to be covering Queen Sugar tonight's episode. We are in season 5, episode 7. It is titled June 1st, 2020. And as you all know, they are mirroring the pandemic because when they first started shooting this season, in real time, this is when the pandemic was first hitting us. So they had no choice but to write it in. So just wanted to put that out. I want to thank you guys all so very much for taking a moment to come through and check out the video. If you are catching the replay, shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you enjoy the commentary and the recap, please feel free to subscribe. It is free 99. I wanted to do something a little different, and I wanted to share the preview of tonight's episode. So let me see if it allows me to do that, you all. Give me a moment here. Hey, Miss Full Roller, welcome in. Thanks for joining me tonight. I am getting ready to cover my review and recap for Queen Sugar tonight's episode. So I'm just showing a quick uh what do you call that? What did I just call it? You know where they're about to show you what's about to happen on the episode. So give me just a moment. I done forgot the word.
You can say, I need help. Queen Sugar, Tuesdays, 8, 7 Central.
So for whatever reason, I don't think that it played in full. The preview, that's the word. It slipped from my mind, but let me take it off because God knows I don't want no Oprah smoke, okay? No Oprah smoke for me. So anyway, that was supposed to be the preview for tonight's episode. Again, it is titled June 1st, 2020. And I'm going to go ahead and get right into tonight's episode and give you all the recaps and my thoughts. Again, thank you all for tuning in. If you are catching the replay, thank you so very much for tuning in. So, again, this is season 5, episode 7, June 1st, 2020. So, we see the episode begins with Ralph Angel and Darla. Ralph Angel and Darla. And I think I told you all, and most of you all know, especially if you follow the show, you already know who Ralph Angel and Darla is, right? Let me show y'all real quick. That is Ralph Angel and Darla, okay? So, Ralph Angel and Darla are doing very well. Remember, they are newlyweds, they just got married, and it appears that life is treating them well. They're actually working the farm, and their son Blue, in the previous episode, they were just noticing how bright of a child he's becoming. Like he's a little advanced for his age. And Blue's a little guy. Let me show you another clip just so you can get an idea. That's little Blue there, the little guy in the suit. So they were noticing that Blue seems to be a bit advanced for his age. And they actually sent off to have some test results on him compiled to kind of see if their suspicions would be confirmed about his IQ level, right? And excuse me, as Ralph Angel and Darla are speaking with one another in the yard, Ralph Angel hands Darla this envelope and she's like, "Well, what is this?" It's the test results that have came back from when they sent her off to have him tested. And it turns out that Blue is actually quite gifted. Like he's at pre-calculus, almost like college level calculus, high levels in science, just scored really, really high on this IQ test. So, of course, their suspicions are confirmed. Blue is really advanced. Now, next, we jump to Charley. And when they show Charley, she's kind of tossing and turning in her bed. It's quite evident that something is going on with her. She's having what appears to be a nightmare. She's kind of like visioning all the trauma and just all the experiences she's been through in all of the seasons leading up to now. from the time that her and Davis were married and their infidelity to the time when Micah kind of started drifting off and getting mixed up with the wrong crowd, and how she kind of got involved with the city council there in St. Joe. And whatever it is that's got her tossing and turning, it wakes her from her slumber. And when she wakes up, she's like visibly in pain and discomfort. So she kind of makes her way to the bathroom and she notices her appearance in the mirror. Like she's very lethargic, she's all sweaty, she's just like grabbing her neck, and she notices that something's not right, but we still can't put two and two together because, again, the show is just beginning, right? So the next scene we see, we go to Hollywood and Auntie Vi's house. Now, Hollywood has not quite been the same since his mother passed, Miss Willamay. He's no longer his loving, friendly self. And, he's become more argumentative. Oh, his observations and the way he talks always seems like an old soul, right, Miss Full Roller? And I kind of feel like that was because before the father, Ernest, died, he was always over there with his grandfather. And you know how that is when a younger child is around a grandparent like that, they pick up a lot. So yes, he was very much an old soul. Now, Auntie Vi and Hollywood, their loving relationship has definitely taken a hit since his mother passed. Okay. We see Hollywood and Auntie Vi are at home, and he's concerned because he walks in and she's on the phone with someone. And as she hangs up, he's like, "Who was that?" And she's telling him, "Oh, that was so and so. I was just checking in on her." And he's concerned, and he lets her know that he's concerned that, she's spreading herself too thin, always looking after everybody else, no one ever looking out after her. Hi, Mr. 100 Browns. How are you? Thank you for popping in. Welcome. Just giving a Queen Sugar review. I don't know if you watched the show, but thank you so much for popping in. I really appreciate the support. So, of course, now Hollywood is getting on her like, "Vi, I think you're doing too much." Now, we all know how, as women, our men can get. Like, you doing too much. You doing too much over there, and you ain't doing enough over here. It was one of them. Okay. And next, of course, well, let me back up. That kind of catches Auntie Vi off guard because Hollywood has always been so gentle with her, very supportive, very loving. So it kind of catches her off guard, but then she kind of throws it out the window, and I think credits it to the fact that, his mother just passed. So he's going through something. She's noticing he's throwing the beers back. Hollywood never really used to be much of a drinker, but here in tonight's episode, almost every scene, he was throwing a brew back. So he's going through something. Okay. Next, we see Nova. Miss Nova, the eccentric sister. Let me see if I got a clip of Nova. I got a clip of Nova and Ralph Angel. So Nova is gearing up to prepare for this march. It's themed the Hero and Sheroes Youth March. And again, in last week's episode, they were hit with the blow from the George Floyd shooting, which is so ironic because right now we're in the midst of the jury trial for the ex-officer. Like literally, the opening statement started yesterday. Sidebar note, if you all are not paying attention, yesterday was the first day for the opening arguments on both sides. The trial did start yesterday, and I have been watching it closely. Okay. So anyway, I digress. Back to this. Nova's getting the kids all ready. She's making all the preparations. They're getting ready to have this march. And of course, she's planning to utilize the children of St. Joe. So they're working on that. Micah and Charley, back over to Micah and Charley. Micah walks downstairs and he sees his mom sitting at the table and she's kind of grabbing her neck and he notices he's like, "Are you okay?" And she tells him that, she thinks she just slept the wrong way. She feels like she has a crick in her neck and he kind of gives her a massage and they sit down to talk and they share a nice conversation over breakfast. But Micah shares with her that he just feels inadequate, like he wants to do so much more. And he drops the bomb on her that he wants to travel to the site where George Floyd was killed. And he basically lets her know, "Mom, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you I'm going." So he was like, "I would really like to have your support, since she came around last week and went on the George Floyd protest with them the week prior." And surprisingly, she shares that she's very proud of the man that he's becoming, and she gives him her blessings. Okay, so that actually worked out well. So then next we see, hey, Be the Difference Clothing. Joy, she's still with old dude. This was the show that got me into being an author. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Who you talking about? Calvin? Let me put it up there. This who you talking about? Nova still with Calvin, if that's who you talking about. So next we see Nova and Charley are talking on the phone, right? And Nova is super excited about this march that she's planning for the heroes and sheroes of St. Joe. And, it's a march all about justice for Black Lives Matter. They want to incorporate the children because they feel like it's important for them to be involved. Yeah, she cut the dreads off. Yes, she did. And of course, Charley shares with Nova that she's concerned about Micah wanting to travel to Minneapolis because, of course, at this time, they're at the height of the racial tension. They're at the height of it. And Nova, being the eccentric sister that she is, the woke sister, she starts naming off all the greats, Malcolm, Martin, and all the other great social activists of yesteryear. And she tells Charley, we oftentimes like to think that they were so old and they were so grown. But Charley, they were actually Micah's age. Micah's 20 years old. And she, tries to reassure her that you raised him right. He's a gifted young man. Let him go do his thing. He's in college. He wants to go. She tries to kind of steer. She was like, but he has a large enough social following on social media and he's doing community activism here. And she's like, you got to let him go if that's what he wants to do. So she kind of tries to ease Charley's tensions about Micah going to meet up with his activist friends at the site where George Floyd was killed. Now, Nova also shared with Charley during that conversation that immediately following the march that she, Calvin, and his daughter Courtney are going to be hitting the road to drive her back to her dorm room because, again, she came to stay with them during the whole quarantine and things are kind of opening back up. So they're going to drive her back to her dorm. I believe they said in Houston. Keep in mind, they're in NOLA. And she also lets Charley know that she plans to fly right back immediately. Charley, of course, doesn't feel like it's a good idea. She simply doesn't have a good feeling about it. But they get off the phone. So after she gets off the phone with Charley, she starts to have a little conversation with Courtney. Courtney is Calvin's daughter. And initially, it was kind of weird when she came to stay with them because, they are an interracial couple. Nova was kind of the reason why him and his wife, her mother, divorced and separated. So it was awkward at first. But in the weeks that she's been staying with them, Nova and Courtney have actually grown to be very close. They actually have a closer relationship than Calvin and his daughter. So they kind of talk about, um, Nova shares with her she wished she had more time and she's sorry to see her go. But if you've been following the show, last week Nova was in her feelings because last week's episode, the country witnessed George Floyd's death live in real time. So most black people everywhere you looked were in their feelings, and she was lashing out at them like, "You're white, you will never understand my plight," even though they're trying to simply be there for her. So Courtney's kind of feeling confused, like, you were just lashing out at me last week. Now you're saying you wish you had more time. So they kind of have this conversation going, and Nova's phone rings. It's somebody calling to let her know that there was some type of mix up with the permits and they're going to have to cancel the march. She is no longer going to be allowed to have her march. And she accepts it, but she's sad and she's disappointed. And she tells whoever it is that's calling her that, there's going to be a lot of children disappointed. And she also feels like there was no mix-ups. She was like, I did everything necessary to ensure this went off without a hitch. So she's already feeling like it was a sabotage inside move that they didn't want to allow it to happen. Okay. And of course, Courtney tries to, be there for her, let her know she's really sorry about it getting canceled. Now, Ralph Angel, Darla, and Blue, they take us over to their home. They're all excited, having family time again. Newlyweds. Ralph Angel, Darla, and Blue are sitting down. They're making homemade signs for the big march. Joy said, is the aunt with lupus or cancer died? No. Auntie Vi has survived. She overcame it. She is still here and doing well. She actually beat it. She went through all that sickness, but she came through. But her man, Hollywood's mother, just died in the last 2 episodes. And again, this is season 5. We're only in episode 7, so not too far off. But she's still here, and we're going to get more into her here in just a moment. Joy. So yeah, Ralph Angel and Darla done got married. Darla's clean. She's no longer on drugs. And they've gotten married. Okay. So they're at home. They're making homemade signs for the march. And Ralph Angel walks in. He just got off the phone with Nova and he breaks the news to Darla and Blue, telling them that, there was some type of mix up with the permit. So pretty much the march has been canceled. And of course, Blue has questions because that's just the little inquisitive kid that he is. He has questions. He was like, well, permits, why do we need permission to go and march? Why do we need permission to go and march down a public street? He just has so many questions, right? And they're looking at each other like, okay, even though we just got these IQ results that he's advanced beyond his age, he's still a little kid. And this is a racially sensitive situation. So they don't really know how to approach it. They're not even sure if it's appropriate to approach. So they kind of try to sugarcoat it and explain it to him. And he's still sitting there kind of dumbfounded. Okay. Next, we see Auntie Vi has showed up to Charley's house. I wish I had a picture with both of them, but I don't. Let me show you Charley and Mr. Prosper since I got a good picture of them. So Auntie Vi has shown up to pay Charley a visit and to bring her some dinner. And when Auntie Vi asks about Micah, where's he at? She's, of course, angered to learn that he's traveled to Minnesota to meet up with his activist friends. She's like, why would you allow him to go way across the country in the height of a pandemic and a racial war? And she's like, you're the one that was getting on me last week telling me I need to cut the cord and let him grow up. He's 20 years old. So they have that back and forth. And Auntie Vi starts to kind of share with her without saying too much. Yeah, he was actually seeing the hypocrisies. You're right, Miss Philroller. But they wouldn't elaborate for him, so he was kind of left lingering. He wanted more information and they refused to give it. But you're right about that, Miss Philroller. Mm-hmm. Now, Auntie Vi shares with Charley that, she's got a lot on her plate, but she didn't go too in detail. The details are that her and Hollywood are not as close. Things are kind of rocky around the house since Miss Willa Mae passed. He's not the same old Hollywood. But she just simply tells her she got a lot going on. She got a lot on her plate. And she's like, well, how are things going at the shop? And Auntie Vi's like, I ain't been working at the shop. I'm thinking about doing the orders from my kitchen at the house. And she's like, well, isn't that going to be much harder for you? And she's like, yeah, but I got a lot going on, so I need to stick closer to the house. Plus, during the pandemic, remember, they've invited Mr. Prosper to come and stay with them because he was kind of having a little bit of depression at his house by himself because every time I get on live, my throat want to get all cranky. But anyway, when the pandemic first hit, all we really knew was that it was older people and younger people. So he was kind of going through a little depression and a little bit of fear. So they brought him over to their house to stay with them. So she just let Charley know, these days, Hollywood is not in a good headspace, especially after Miss Willa Mae's death, and she left it at that. Next, we see, girl, I'm drinking water, Miss Fullroller. I'm drinking water, but it does it every time when I start talking on the phone or I get on this dang on microphone. I got my water right here. I keep sipping it. But anyway, Courtney, Nova, and Calvin basically hit the road. They showed them real quick. They're getting on the road again to go drop her back at her dorm room. And we flash back to Ralph Angel, Blue, and Darla. Now, this is where I get upset with Ralph Angel because although he's so handsome, he tends to not usually make the most wisest of decisions. Him and Darla, well, actually, I'm not even going to say him and Darla. Ralph Angel gets the bright idea to decide to tell Blue, you know what? That is stupid that we got to get permission. We're going to go ahead. We already got our signs made. We're going to go ahead and show up anyway and protest. So they are going to throw on their Black Lives Matter t-shirts and they're going to take their signs and they're going to go protest anyway. So, of course, Blue is excited. He doesn't know any better at this point. He's just looking at it as, yes, he is very easy on the eyes now. Okay. He's looking at it as Pops coming through for me. In fact, that was his very words. Yay, Pops. So, meanwhile, we see Courtney and Nova. They're passing through a town. They're on the road and they're coming out the store as Calvin is pumping gas and Courtney's kind of looking really sad. And so, Nova was like, honey, what's wrong? And she's like, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah. She's like, aren't you excited to be getting back to school? And she's like, yeah, I am. But I just feel like I really want to be a good ally to the Black community. Like when I say Miss Courtney and Nova hit it off, because Nova opened up her community newspaper. And it's like a little miniature social service agency in the community. Not only does she write papers, she live streams, she was feeding the homeless, she was giving out covers and food and clothing. She was dropping off groceries to people's door to door when the pandemic first happened. That's the nature of Nova. That's who she is at her core. And Miss Courtney and her clicked. Miss Courtney wants to be a part of that. She's nothing like her mother, who was very rude towards Nova. She's a college student, and she shared with Nova that, I really want to be a good ally to the Black community, and I feel like I keep putting my foot in my mouth and it comes off as insensitive, and I just don't know what I need to do. And so in their heart-to-heart conversation, Nova shares with her, the fact that you have those feelings lets me know, and it should let you know that you're on the right path. You have those feelings, just go with them and continue to work on you and continue to grow and continue to educate yourself. So it was a really good scene. Next, we go back to, of course, they never put the clips out with the current episodes. I don't know why they do that. I guess they don't want us bloggers to get them. And I ain't messing with Miss Oprah because I done had a claim before, and I ain't trying to get no strike from her. So we're going to go with the little clips I got, okay? But anyway, we see Mr. Prosper in Hollywood at the house chilling, watching the game. And Hollywood is clearly starting to drink more. Like I said, he's throwing the beers back more. He's starting to get a little bit more argumentative. And he shares that, again, Auntie Vi is starting to get too in people's business because, yet again, she was on the phone with Darla this time. And she came in there to complain about Darla pretty much telling them to mind their own business. And, matter of fact, let me back up, y'all. I skipped a part. Ralph Angel, Blue, and Darla actually decided to go and protest. So they're standing on the side of the road, and they're actually in front of one of those, those statues that they have in the South of the white monumental figures. And people are going by, and it's just the three of them. It's not a whole group. It's just the three of them. And they're standing out there with their Black Lives Matter t-shirts on. And they've got their signs, and they're hollering, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, as people are going by. So people are honking and kind of supporting them. But then lo and behold, you knew it was too good to be true. Up comes the sheriff's car. So Darla looks extremely horrified. Ralph Angel got that mean mug look in his face. And Blue is sitting there like, in fact, he kind of hid behind him and was like, Pops, are we okay? And they're like, okay, greetings. And the officer comes and he's like, Officer, is there a problem? And he's like, we got some problems about somebody causing a roadblock at this location. And Ralph Angel was like, well, that's not us. And he's like, he looks at their signs and he's like, And he's sizing Ralph Angel up and he's looking at Blue and he says, well, this is public property. You can't be out here without a permit. And Ralph Angel says, no, where you're standing is public property. This right here where we're standing, this is my property. I own all this. And he points to all the acres behind him. And he's like, you own all that? And he said, yeah, I do. And he was like, you got any proof of that? And he was like, who carried a deed in their pocket? So he was like, sir, do you have any proof of it or not? The officer starts to get aggressive with him. So Blue is starting to, get scared. Darla runs up and was like, I can run to the house and get the deed. So she goes and hops in the car or in the truck to go ride to the house, which is like a couple of miles away because they got several acres of sugarcane, farm. So she would have had to ride for about 5 to 10 minutes there and 5 to 10 minutes back. So as she leaves, the officer and Ralph Angel are pretty much having a stare off. Hey, Jessica Hicks. Welcome in. Thank you so much for popping in. I am just finalizing. I'm finalizing the recap from Queen Sugar tonight. And you could just see the officer playing with the gun on his holster, and Blue's eyes were glued on his gun. Ralph Angel was looking so pissed, and tears were like flaring up in his eyes. And he was just like, why is it a crime for me to be standing up here on my property with my family, protesting for social justice? And the officer wasn't trying to hear of it. He wasn't trying to hear of it at all. And as he was sitting there, Ralph Angel was so fine, girl. Look, I hope my husband ain't listening. But he is. But anyway, as soon as the officer was sitting there just nitpicking, trying to find a reason to mess with them, he didn't even care that little Blue was there. He was sitting there fooling around with his gun, and right then he got a call on the walkie-talkie. Thank the Lord. And when he got that call, he tells Blue, I'll see you later, little man, or I'll catch up with you later. And he goes and he hops in that squad car and drives off. As soon as he drives off, Ralph Angel just let out tears, and he drops to the ground, and he grabs Blue real tight, and he just embraced him, and he apologized. I'm so sorry, son. And I mean, can you imagine how emasculated he must have felt? Here you are, a man with your son. You're out here doing the right thing. You're trying to show him the right way to go about protesting. And he was well within his rights. You're right, Miss Full Roller. It was a modern day get your papers. But I'm so glad he stood firm in the fact, nah, you own public property. We own private property. In fact, this is my property. Okay? It was a deep scene. It was sad. And of course, they took us to the next scene, which was Mr. Prosper in Hollywood having the game. I already told y'all that. They were watching the game. Hollywood snapped at Auntie Vi. And he was pretty much getting on to Auntie Vi for being a busybody, telling her she needs to stay out of people's business. Quit being up in people's business. And, she's like, wow, okay. He was like, I would just really much so like to get back to watching this game, and I would very much appreciate it if my wife would get on in there and fix my food. Now, for those of us who watch the show, we know that is not Hollywood. Hollywood do not snap at Auntie Vi like that. It was so uncomfortable that Mr. Prosper got up and walked off into the kitchen to let them argue, so that he wasn't sitting smack dab in the middle of it. Next, we see Charley on the phone doing her city council thug thizzle, and she's sharing with whoever she's on the phone with that she's come across a document, and she went into all the legal mumbo jumbo, and she shared with them that this document is going to actually hold off the highway that they're trying to build through St. Joe for at least 2 years. As she is on the phone, she begins to have some sort of complications again. Remember, I told you y'all, she woke up, something wasn't right about her. She wasn't feeling well. She was grabbing her neck. And she started having this episode when she was on the phone. Okay. So she gets off the phone. She's sweating again. Yes, Hollywood is really going through. Last week, Miss Auntie Vi found his gun. And she's like, why do we need this? She's against guns, but Hollywood's looking at it from a standpoint of, I'm a black man. The George Floyd scene just hit. We all seen it live on national TV, and I ain't having it. My mama just died. We're in a pandemic. That's where Hollywood's at with it. And he's drinking heavily, so he's not in a good headspace. He really is not. He's just got a lot of compounded stuff on him, and unfortunately, Auntie Vi is feeling the wrath of it. He's been lashing out, and who else are you going to lash out at but the people close to you? So that's what's been going on with him. Let me see. Where was I at? Oh, okay. Charley. She was going through her episode of whatever. We still don't know what's going on with her yet. They haven't alluded to it just yet, but we're getting there. So she's confused. She's breathing heavily. She's sweating, and it dawns on her that there's no one that she can call. She literally grabbed her cell phone and she pulls up Nova's name, and Nova's voice plays back. We're going on a 7-hour drive to drop Courtney off, and I'm going to fly back immediately. So she knew she couldn't call on her sister. Then she plays back Auntie Vi's voice, and Auntie Vi says, Charley, I got a lot going on. I got a lot on my plate. So they're going through the motions and letting us know that basically Charley feels like she knows she needs to call on someone, but who can she call on when everybody's busy and got their own stuff going on? So just then, of course, she calls Ralph Angel, the little brother. And when she calls Ralph Angel's phone, of course, she gets a voicemail. So the next scene is Ralph Angel is sitting outside on the farm, and he oftentimes calls on Hollywood to vent and, lean on Hollywood because Wood is older. Since Ernest died, he kind of looks to Hollywood as an uncle figure. After all, that is Auntie Vi's man. And he's sharing the situation with the cop and how it affected Blue and how it affected him. And he's really hurt, y'all. When I say he's really hurt, I mean, he drops the phone on the ground. They're kind of like FaceTiming on the phone where they could see each other. And Hollywood looks at the phone because he sees that he dropped the phone to the ground, and he just tells him, let it out. Let it out, Ra. And it was a sad scene because Ralph Angel was just breaking down, weeping and crying because, I know that situation had to just like totally emasculate him, especially in front of his child, but Hollywood was there for him. He was there for him to listen, to vent, encourage him, and let him know it was all right. It was all right to cry, man. It's all right. So next we see Hollywood and Mr. Prosper. They're talking, and he apologizes for being on edge lately, and he starts to reflect on all of the goodness and all of the joy that him and Auntie Vi have shared. Hey, Georgia girl, I am every woman. Thank you so much for passing through. I appreciate it. We are almost coming to a close here on this review of Queen Sugar. So he's sitting there throwing back the beers, and I think his conversation with Ralph Angel made him really kind of snap back into reality like, hey, this woman has been here through everything with you, through the situation when you were a truck driver, you were going through this, you were going through that. She's been there through the death of your mother. She's pretty much been there for Hollywood through everything. And he's just sitting there pondering. They're playing all the old scenes from the previous seasons, and he's thinking on it. And he kind of puts the beer down. Remember, he'd been drinking heavily this whole episode. Next we see it's nighttime. Nova has made it back home safely. And she's in her house, and she kind of starts to tidy up and pick things up around her house. And she starts to have her own little like reflections, and her reflections weren't so positive. It was like they would show the positive times with her and Calvin, but then they would show the contentious times with, when she was going through her Black issues, how he really couldn't be there for her. No matter how much they love each other, it's like always this constant invisible divide with them. And I think she's really starting to take into consideration that maybe this interracial relationship will never work, because she was like, I can't be out here fighting for my people and then coming home to you every night trying to explain why it is I do what I do. Like that was literally one of the last conversations they had. Okay. So she's going through that and she's very conflicted about it. It's like she's asking herself if this is going to truly work out, especially with the country practically being in a race war after the whole George Floyd situation. Ralph Angel is watching over Blue as he sleeps, and he starts reflecting on how far they've come. They start showing the scenes from when Darla was out there strung out on dope, and Ralph Angel used to go pick up Blue and drop him off with his dad, drop him off with Auntie Vi, and he's just reflecting, and he's going through that whole thing. And lastly, we see Charley laid up in the bed. It's the middle of the night. And when I tell y'all, Charley is tossing and turning. She's clearly and evidently very visibly in pain. She's breathing all kind of hard. And she decides to place a call to someone. She's crying now. She places a call to someone and then she throws the phone. And of course, the camera zooms in on the phone, but the words of the person, the contact was blurry. So we couldn't even see who the heck it was. We couldn't see who the heck it was, y'all. And of course, you already know how this goes. In true TV fashion, this is where the episode ended. That cliffhanger. And that concludes my review and my recap of tonight's episode. Again, season 5, episode 7, titled June 1st, 2020, of Queen Sugar. Yes, 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 Lord. It was a nail biter. Hey, Shanji! I didn't see Shanji come in. I'm just running my mouth, honey, talking about the show. Did I miss Shanji? I'm scrolling back up now. Dang, did I miss her? I don't see Shanji in here, but I seen somebody speak to her, I thought. Oh, there you go. Hey, Shanji. You've been listening. You're not familiar with the show, but it sounds pretty interesting. It is very interesting, Shanji. It is very interesting. And plus, Mr. Ralph Angel is nice on the eyes. Very nice on the eyes. There's a picture there of Auntie Vi, Nova, and Charley. It's got Ralph Angel in there too, but I cut it off, I think. But yeah, that concludes tonight's episode, you all. I am so happy to see you all. Hey, Marlene, welcome in. Thank you so much for popping in. Thank you all so much for being here. If you aren't watching the show, I highly recommend it. It comes on the OWN network on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the 5th season. And because when they started shooting this season, it was last March, right at the start of the pandemic. So they've been writing the show all around the pandemic. And right now, they are experiencing the whole George Floyd situation. So they're reacting to it as if it's just happening. So it has a lot of real life events. It's about a Black family out of New Orleans. It's got a lot of different mini stories, and the characters are great. But it comes on Tuesday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern, on the Oprah Winfrey Network. So I highly recommend it. I have been watching it since season 1. I will usually come through and review it and give my recap after each episode just to catch you up. I love when Mr. Robert Gann is in here because he watches it too, or Web Savvy. They always give their information. Oh my goodness, Shanji, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let me get my little thank you ready, babe. We got a super chat. We got a super chat. We got a super chat. Thank you, baby, for the super chat. Thank you, Shanji. I appreciate the super chat. So yeah, you guys, it is getting late. I have been off work since last Friday. Sunday was my husband's birthday, so we did like a little mini getaway. And I gotta get in here and get prepared to go on back to the job on tomorrow. I was trying to still keep some content rolling while I was away, but didn't quite work out the way I planned. A couple of those lives was on buffer mode. So I apologize if y'all happen to see those. I know, Miss Full Roller, every time my church sisters get to shouting, it tickles me to death, but I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Full Roller. I'll tell them. Yeah, we had a little mini getaway. We usually try and do something every year on his birthday and my birthday, and we haven't, of course, been able to do it because of the times we're in right now. So it was a nice little getaway. It was a nice little getaway. We had a little fun, and the weather is nice right now. It's like 80 degrees here right now. Up in the mountains. Got some casino action in there. So yeah, I'm dreading going back to work tomorrow. And tomorrow is our weekly staff meeting via Zoom. So I got to be on camera with folks and things. Can y'all tell I'm excited about that? Let me quit complaining. I'm thankful to have a job. Okay. But yeah, so it'll be like my Monday. Yes. Yes, Libra. Yes, Libra is we just so cool and laid back. We get along like, man, when I tell you that's my homie, my best friend, we kick it, we laugh. It was nice. It was nice because I feel like I needed a break. He definitely needed a break. It was a cool little getaway. I wish we could have had a little bit more time off. But yeah, it was nice. So yeah, y'all, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you all. I'm gonna go ahead and bring things to a close. Thank you again, Shanji, for coming through, and thank you so much for the super chat. And if you guys get a chance, if you want to find something good to watch on TV, it's not too super dramatic. Queen Sugar is really a good show, and it's just starting to get really good. They always are available on demand. You can always check it out on the OWN app if you don't have cable. Oftentimes it makes its way here to YouTube, so you can catch up there too. I ain't doing that no more. My very first year when I started watching, well, not when I first started watching, but when I first started my YouTube channel, when was that? 2019. I was crazy and I didn't really know the rules, and I included about a 4-minute clip from Iyanla Fix My Life because I love that show too. And I seen other people doing it. Baby, when I tell you, I got a little email from YouTube telling me that Oprah Winfrey's network was slapping a good old claim on me, and that if I was monetized, all monetization was going to them. Oh, I learned my lesson. I can put these pictures in here because I've altered them and I've put the copyright claim, and I'm giving commentary. But you cannot just upload other people's content into your videos. And on that particular video, I think I got like 12,000, 13,000 views on it. So I was so happy that I wasn't monetized at the time. So I'm able to collect on it now. But at that time, if I would have been monetized, that money would have been going right to Oprah as if she needs it. So yes, honey, I don't mess with the queen. I won't be including none of her content in this content. Okay. I will talk about it until the sun comes up, but I ain't putting it in this video. But yeah. Y'all have a blessed night. Be safe. Stay encouraged. And if y'all didn't remember to blow dry on that like button on your way coming in, please don't. Thank you all so much for coming through and kicking it with your girl. I hope that you guys enjoyed yourself. And if you have not already, don't forget to blow dry on my like button. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? It is free 99 after all. Make sure you double tap on that notification bell so that you are notified each and every time I go live over here and when new content is added to the channel. Until next time, stay safe everybody, stay encouraged, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.